Yo, 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 what is up? Welcome to Indie Alley, a new podcast about wrestling and comics from an indie point of view. My name is Andrew, and I'm here with my co-host Fred, and we are back from a long sabbatical. You may remember us from a little show called Street Level Floppies, where we talked about indie comics and other comics. This time, we're back with a little twist. We're going to have wrestling, we're going to have comics, and like I said, all from an independent point of view. So Fred, say hi to everybody.
Hey everyone. I'm really interested in, actually, let me change that. I'm really jacked up about this because this is two of my favorite passions. Independent comics and independent wrestling. Some may say that wrestling is my religion. So I'm super passionate about it. And later on in the show, I have someone else will be joining us that is as passionate, if not more passionate, because he bugs me all day long about moves and wrestlers, and you'll get to meet him later.
Nice, yes. We have a third member to this broadcast team that will come in towards the end of the comics, I'd probably assume, and then join us for the wrestling.
Yeah.
So, Fred, why wrestling and comics?
Well, wrestling and comics we read for superheroes, right? And what's more like a superhero than seeing a luchador like, say, Rey Mysterio with a mask? I mean, he comes out to the music, does the high-flying moves. He's like the real-life Spider-Man. So, I mean, and not only that, I like it because of the storytelling in the ring, because storytelling to me is huge, whether if it's in a comic book or if it happens in the ring. And we get to share that later on in the show with the stuff that happens in the ring.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's storytelling. People that don't watch a lot of wrestling maybe just see it as, oh, well, wrestling's fake. Well, we know it's fake because they're telling a story, okay? It is using physical confrontation to tell a story. And comics tell a story, and they wear colorful costumes. Wrestlers wear colorful costumes. It's just, I think there's so much crossover, and there's so many people that like both. So we thought, well, why don't we talk about it? But where the one difference is, we're not going to so much talk about the WWE.
No.
And we're not going to talk about Marvel and DC.
Nope.
So we are talking about
the street level stuff.
Yeah, the stuff where things are being created. Now, there can be an argument. Fred and I have talked about this. You might say, well, is AEW really independent wrestling? If you guys are doing a comic from Vertigo, is that really an independent comic? And what we're trying to say is that these are comics that are free of all the red tape that happens at those two big publishers, and we all know about the micromanaging that's happening at the WWE. So it's just a place where there's a little more freedom, I guess, is the best way I look at it, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because the way I look at it is they're both creators, they're both artists, whether if it's through a comic book or if you're a wrestler. Like, as a wrestler, that ring is your canvas, and you paint the story and the pictures there throughout the match.
Yeah, and it's a collaboration between two wrestlers, just like it's a collaboration between an artist and a writer, and an inker and a letterer. It takes more than one person to pull off these stories. And so they work together in tandem to give us an entertaining story. Again, you're going to hear that a lot tonight because we feel that is the thing that puts both these genres together, in my opinion. Oh, before we jump into some comics, I was going to bring up, on our last show, we were really particular about staying pretty current. You would say we would do whatever came out that week, right?
Right.
If you would think. We're going to let it breathe a little bit this time around. We're going to kind of hit books that have been out for a week, for 2 weeks is I think what we're looking at, right? So in other words, go ahead.
I was going to say, around about like 2 weeks. I mean,
So not this Wednesday that just passed. We're recording on a Friday.
Right.
But the past Wednesday.
Yes.
So that gives everybody about a week and a half or so to read the comics. So you've read these comics. You can join the discussion if you want. We're going to have, we have our Twitter page. You can send us emails. I'll drop that at the end of the show. And we can take questions and we can talk a little more in depth about some of these comics without having to worry about spoiling them for everybody. At the same time, we're not going to straight up drop a spoiler. This isn't a book report. We're not going to tell you what happened beat for beat and then say, hey, this is what happened. Well, why do you need to read it if we do that? We're just going to tell you about things we like from all aspects of the comic, from the way it was drawn, the way it was put together, the story. Maybe speculate on something coming up if we think it's, the right thing to do. But just have a good discussion about these comic books.
Sounds great.
So let's get into the comic books for this week. The first book we're going to talk about, like always, we're going to read the solicit, let you know a little bit about the book, tell you the creative team, give them credit. And this first book is called Killer Groove. Killer Groove #1. It's a brand new comic. It's put out by Aftershock. In 1970s Los Angeles, Johnny is one of the thousands of musicians trying to make it big while working a crummy bar job and getting drunk with his whiskey-soaked PI friend Jackie. When Johnny gets tangled up with a local mob hitman, he not only finds a new and violent career, but maybe the inspiration for his music as well. From Ollie Masters, the writer of The Kitchen and Snowblind, and Ian Maroon, artist on Her Infernal Descent, Army of Darkness, and James Bond, comes the next rock and roll crime sensation with a beat that'll kill you dead. As we said, written by Ollie Masters, art by Ian Maroon, colorist is Jody Belair, letters by, I always have fun with this one, Hassan Othman Elahu. The editor is Christina Harrington, published by Aftershock. Killer Groove, Fred, what'd you think of this new rock and roll comic by Aftershock?
It's a very interesting book. The first issue has some fleshing out to do. I think it has 3 different stories taking place at once. I think you mentioned you're interested in 2 of the stories in this book when we were discussing it beforehand.
Yeah.
So am I. But the part that I really like, because I didn't know that it took place in the 70s until you read the solicit, and I wrote down something here that Jordy Belair's the colorist on here, she kind of really hits the tones of the colors of the 70s, like that couch you find in your grandma's basement that's green and yellows and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, she really hits those colors in this book, and it really brings out a lot of that vibe.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely feels like that Los Angeles, that time of the, and they go to the Troubadour, which is a real club that a lot of famous rock and roll clubs or rock and roll bands have gone through. I liked it. I had no clue that it was going to be a crime story going in. I Killer Groove, think about records, you think about music, and I really love these crime stories that when they're in comic book form. So that part was a lot of fun. I guess, like we said, there's 3 stories, and 2 were done really well, I would say, and the third kind of left you scratching your head.
Right.
It was kind of, you had to fill in the blanks and do a lot of, okay, I think that's what that third story is. But
the ending kind of caught me off. I'm like, what is happening here? Till I put together that, the PI was actually the lady at the bar. I had to go back and look at it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's her, because I had to make sure that, what'd you say, his name's Johnny? I think he said, hey, Jackie, or something. I seen that.
Yeah.
So I put that together. But the one part I want to get out of there is that there's a part in here that I know Ollie likes to write, mafia books and stuff, but not everyone from Sicily is mafia. Because didn't he say, wasn't there interaction here? He was like, I know. He's like, my family's from there, and he's like, mine too. And they just all of a sudden assume that you're hitman. I'm like, come on, bro.
You're ready to go, man. I'm going to contract you out to do hits based on
I thought that was a little stereotypical, but I mean, I'll give him the pass. It's cool.
But yeah, that's funny. And it's funny that Ollie Masters, I didn't put the 2 and 2 together right away either, that this is the author of The Kitchen, and that trailer just dropped this week. The Kitchen, which is a movie that's going to be about 3 women who are kind of running their own mob crew and stuff with some pretty famous actresses. I can't remember the names right now, but
is one Melissa McCarthy? Is she?
Yeah, I think it is Melissa McCarthy. So he writes good mafia stories.
Yeah,
and so I expect nothing but more good story out of this for sure.
Yeah, this is definitely a good book. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much, but I'm interested to find out like the little girl that she meets with Jackie Fuentes at the PI place. I'm interested in where that's going because it said like her dad found some, what'd she say, like a hippie cult or something. So I'm wondering, like, are we going to see the Grateful Dead?
Maybe, or we're going to see some Manson type thing because they kind of touch on Manson. Remember?
Yeah.
When they're having that kind of discussion, like, you know, that it's all gone bad. Johnny's having that discussion, how it's all gone bad, how he talks about the Helter Skelter stuff. He talks about Antietam, where the guy was stabbed at that festival in San Francisco, and just all that stuff that's really going on in the world. And so, yeah, I thought of that too, like it's some weird cult.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pamphlet right now, and on the pamphlet drawn, it says like, your invitation to the masters of peace, hope, unity, and body. And then, you know, it's got all like that 60s vibe, or, you know, 60s, 70s vibe, like the psychedelic looking stuff. And I could see it taking a turn that way. And I would expect it to do something like that, especially coming from an Aftershock book.
Yeah. Because you just don't want to tell us another mob story. There has to be something kind of weird and crazy about it. And then, you know, the three stories, so that's one story. That's Jackie's story. Then you have John's story, who's the musician. And there's kind of a sinister kind of hint of where his music ability possibly could come from. So that's kind of has that supernatural vibe too. And then, like I said, the third story, which I really can't comment on this early. I don't know what it is going to be exactly.
Yeah, I enjoyed like this book, especially like the art. Like I'm looking at a panel right now where Johnny's like, it looks like he's either meditating or something on the edge of his bed, and he's got a bong there, and he's got the little bonsai tree and all this stuff. Like I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
it definitely has that vibe.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of detail. The backgrounds, the settings they're in. There's a lot of detail in them. I really enjoy it. They look like they're from an era that's not around anymore. 60s, 70s era. Yeah, I definitely recommend this book. It's put together really well. The lettering was solid. Yeah. Good book. Aftershock. Yeah.
What do you think about like the part where Johnny gets in the scuffle and has to take someone out? I have a question about how he takes him out. You know, he had a screwdriver, right? Where did that come from? Because he's carrying his guitar case, and he all of a sudden had one. I don't know if the other
guy dropped it, or it just happened to be on the ground. I'd have to go back and look at that closer. I don't know if that was like one of the other two guys when they were scuffling dropped that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I do see it in the background before the guy's pulling out the gun, and then Johnny's getting choked. And there happens to be a screwdriver behind him, and he's reaching for it. I didn't notice that at first, but yeah.
That's probably what it is.
This is one of those type of books that could be, like we used to say at the old podcast, used as a storyboard for a movie or a TV show. It is written like that type of style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is realism. I do believe there may be some supernatural in it, but right now it's just like realism. Yeah, all the way. Yeah, good book. I definitely would recommend people checking it out. It's just the first issue. You probably still can get a hold of it. See what you think. Something different.
Do you have any like thoughts on like the guys in the mask with the machetes in the beginning, and then they're pillaging at the end too?
Well,
I'm trying.
They're in Florida, I'm guessing, right? It seems like they're somewhere on the East Coast. Yeah, that's that story I don't get. So could they be cartel or drug dealer type? Maybe.
Oh, is that where?
So,
Oh, okay. You think the
see, so I
beginning
think
takes
the other
place
guy, yeah, I kind of insinuates at the end that he's not from L.A., that he traveled to L.A.
like maybe Miami?
Yeah, so maybe he was from in Miami and he got to get out of there. So that might be kind of like some what's the movie with Al Pacino? Some yeah, what's his gangster Miami movie? Why
Scarface?
can't I, yeah, Scarface. It might be kind of a Scarface type kind
Yeah.
of guys. You know what I mean?
Or like, do you think Ali Masters changed the last name from Fuentes when it could be Puente, and this guy is Tito Puente, and somebody's coming? I don't know. I'm reaching now. I'm reaching.
No, I think Scarface. They might be Cuban.
Yeah.
You know, you know. There is a comment made. So Jackie's black.
Yes.
So they could be Puerto Rican, or they could be, yeah, very easily be from one of the Caribbean islands, and yeah,
Yeah.
and she could be from Florida as well,
Oh,
the family. So yeah, too early. And like I said, that story kind of like didn't give me much, and it wasn't done as well. So I can't really comment. But yeah, there's 3 stories for sure, and they're gonna kind of twist and tangle. So.
yeah.
But I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'd recommend it. I'd recommend people look into it. Like I said, it's a number 1. And whenever you have a number 1, you can jump on pretty quickly. I'm
Yeah.
sure you could find a copy still.
Yeah, it's definitely a good start for the first issue. I would say that.
All right. Ready to move on to the next one?
Sure.
All right. So next, we have another number 1. This is Angel from Boom Studios, along with a visionary writer and director Josh Whedon. You guys all know who Josh Whedon is, right? Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Marvel's The Avengers, Justice League, on, presents the shocking reimagining of pop culture phenomenon Angel. Angel walks the line between 2 worlds, a vampire cursed with a soul. He spent centuries battling back the forces that would destroy humanity in an attempt to redeem himself from the crimes committed by the monster he was when he was first turned. But now, when the trail of the most recent demonic uprising takes him to Sunnydale, he realizes that the redemption he seeks can only come at a startling price. As Angel gets closer to redemption, the full truth of his horrific past as Angelus will be revealed, and there may be no way to escape his darkest secret of all. Written by Brian Edward Hill, Detective Comics, Killmonger. He's writing Outsiders right now. With art from Gleb Malinkov. He's worked on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Discovers a brand new modern take on one of the most iconic vampires in pop culture, perfect for fans and new readers alike. Written by Brian Edward Hill, art and color by Gleb Malenkov, color on pages 10 through 20. If you read the comic, you'll see why there's different colors on the second part. Gabriel Casata, letters by Ed Dukeshire, covered by Dan Panosian, editor Jeannie Schaefer, created by Josh Whedon, published by Boom. Angel. Fred, what did you think of Angel?
Well, when I picked up this book, I only picked it up because it was written by Brian Edward Hill. And for him to be writing a book that I had no idea, I should change that. I had no idea that this book was like from the TV show or the comic Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah. I had no idea about that. If I'd known that before I picked it up, I might not have. But I'm glad I did pick it up because I enjoy his writing and he's. If you haven't read Brian Edward Hill's books, he's really good at fleshing out characters, and his dialogue is maybe like top 5 best in all comics for any writer. And he surely shows it in this book because he it just captivated me. It pulled me in, like his dialogue between characters, like Angel when he comes to modern day times and he sees this kid on the street that wants to take a picture of him, and he's like, why do you want to take a picture of me? And he's like, because I dig that Abe vibe. And Angel's like, what? And he's like, all black everything. And I'm like, oh, see, that's something I expect from Brian Edward Hill to, you know, find stuff. And there's like teaching moments in this book. Like, there's my favorite panel in this whole book is like the girl that does something really bad in this book. But she's in front of her mirror. I'm trying to get there. And she's kind of holding her stomach, looking in the mirror and stuff. And his teaching moment is, it says in the bubbles above, it says, this generation has too many mirrors and not enough windows. They never see past themselves. And that's the type of stuff that I learned from, you know, Brian Edward Hill. He's always like preaching something, but you got to look for it. And that's totally his style. Like he's, you know, I enjoy this book a lot, especially like its presence with social media and kind of like adapting it to modern times to make it seem cool. I mean, I like this book, dude. How about you?
I liked it a lot. First of all, I want to apologize for any names I butchered. That was a mouthful of stuff. But like you, I knew who Angel was, and I knew it was based on the Buffy books. And I didn't buy the new Buffy remake that's out, because that came out started a few months ago. And it just, again, because I'm not that interested in the character. I never watched the show. But like you, when I found out it was Brian Edward Hill, when I was just looking through things, and I said, wait a minute, Brian Edward Hill is writing this. I've got to get this. And I started asking people, and people were like, no, I don't know anything about it. I haven't read anything either. But I said, it's one comic. I'm gonna go buy it. I'm gonna add this to the list, and I'm really glad I did. And I mean, not being a fan, I cannot comment on if it feels like they're doing the character justice. But as a non-fan, just looking for an interesting story with an interesting character, I'm in. I mean, it was awesome. All I needed to know is he's a vampire. I knew that much. That kind of is good now. And that was all I needed. And the little first part, there's like a flashback to his past. That's what I mean, how that part must be colored by a different art. And then I didn't look exactly, but then the second colorist comes in from the modern times. But yeah, it's just a great story. And the use, like you said, that now he's in our time period. And you're dealing with technology, you're dealing with social media, and you're dealing with bullying. That's part of this in essence. It was really good. I mean, like I said, I can't say like I don't know if that older character, that older man that he visits, his friend, is somebody from the shows, for example. I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah.
That's somebody that's a callback to something.
I'm guessing it is, because he mentions that he saved him and he wouldn't have met, remember he wanted to like introduce him to his daughter and to show him who he had. If it wasn't for him saving him, like she would never been there. I'm guessing. But I think a few of the characters, especially the female character at the end where he has to run in with her, and he kind of throws jabs at Hollywood saying, I forgot what her name is. What is her name?
I don't know off the top of my head either.
Her name's Lilith. Lilith in this book, she says in this word bubble, you can tell Hollywood to stop making me a white woman on television. That's irritating. And I was like, this is the type of dialogue you get from Brian Edward Hill. He keeps you on your toes. Like when you think that you're not going to like something, especially for me, I'm not huge into like vampires and things like that, but his writing's so good that I'm here. I don't even notice that they're, vampires, because his dialogue, it captivates you. It sucks you in. He's that well written. I mean,
it's modern, it's fresh, it's dealing, like you said, social media, bullying. He just pointed out Hollywood casting a character that's not white as white. He hit all kinds of things in one issue.
Yeah.
One issue right there.
Especially like the splash page where it shows like 9 cell phones and things happen, interactions between people like every day, and he kind of like mentions people are caught up into keeping like a diary for themselves. Like they can't even enjoy moments anymore because they're always like taking pictures, and like they have to like record it or stuff, or like type it out on like Twitter and things like that. They're not even enjoying everyday life. And That's the stuff I expect from him. It's really good. Like, he's teaching stuff via vampires.
Yeah, definitely. And the book is great looking. I mean, this is a really well colored book. This is a really well drawn book. This cover, I don't know if this is the variant that I have or it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful painting style cover.
Is it this one?
No, we have different ones. I have the one where Angel is overlooking the city. So that's cool. The one you have. Yeah, it's like a scary.
It's a variant
Nosferatu kind of looking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's like he's up on some kind of hill maybe, and he's looking down to the city lights, and it's definitely a painting. This, like I said, really good looking book to add to the dialogue. So props to Gleb Miliknov, if I'm saying that correctly. But another one that I think people should maybe make the effort to go find. This one you probably can find pretty easy. It's a Boom. I'm sure there's plenty of prints that they made for this. Boom does a lot of stuff with movies and TV shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed like the colors in this book, especially like the pinks and stuff, the overtones at the beginning. But I want to give like big shout out to Ed Dukeshire for like his placement of word bubbles, because he just keeps like, this book was so fast paced, even though it had like plenty of dialogue. It was placed perfectly where you could enjoy the art, and it kept going. Like you just, I don't know. He set that tone for the whole book. It was really done well.
I didn't think about it, but yeah, and you can always tell when I can read a book, when I can zip through a book. That's one of those things that you don't realize that's a letterist who did his job right. Because there's some books where I have to stop and wait a minute. Do I go clockwise? Do I go counterclockwise? Do I go across then to the second page and read all the panels? You know what I mean?
Right.
Where you're like, I don't know where I'm going with this. And it takes you out of the story for a minute as you try to figure out. There was none of that. This book just flew. Yeah.
Yeah, there was really good transitions. Like it just helped the flow and the pacing, and it made the book even more enjoyable because you could understand. You didn't have to reread a word bubble and be like, wait, was I supposed to read this one first or that one? There's none of that in this book,
So yeah, once again, I would say this is another good one to look into. It's a fresh book, just started. Anything by Brian Edward Hill.
Yeah.
I hope everyone's reading Outsiders too, Batman and the Outsiders, because he's not writing enough comics right now, unfortunately. So when he is writing one, grab it.
Yeah, it's excellent.
All right, the next one is Dark Red, issue number 3. A surprise, shocking dive into Chip's past. During World War II, a small group of soldiers pursued by Nazis wander into a dilapidated French hotel, and one man's life is changed forever. Tim Seeley and Corin Howell bring you a contemporary and horrifying tale of vampirism in the heart of America. One that'll make you jump right out of your boots. As I said, written by Tim Seeley, art by Corin Howell. The colorist is Mark Eglert, lettered by Marshall Dillon, cover by Aaron Campbell. The editor is Mike Martz, also an Aftershock book. Dark Red. Now, the solicit is a little misleading, Fred, because this is issue 3, and it really doesn't spell out what this book's about, because this is a kind of a flashback issue, huh?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's kind of like an origin story to where Chip becomes a vampire. In the beginning, like, I think, what is it, Victor? He, the past episode, or issue issue number 2, he gets in like this fight with Victor at the convenience store, the gas station, and they're going at it, and there's like, it's kind of a shoving match at the beginning of this issue, and something happens where Chip goes down in the pushing, and he sees in a piece of glass, he sees a reflection of himself, but then he sees Jesus, and then it goes right into the origin story of how he became a vampire in World War II. where he's holding a piece of glass from a church, which happens to probably have Jesus on it. That's how the transitions, and you get the story of like why things are happening, how you get to see his hatred for Nazis,
which is a big theme.
Yes, I thought it was done well. I really like. I'm gonna sound like a big fan of lettering, but to me, in this book, the lettering when it transitioned to World War II was all in cursive, and for me to see that, I was like, well, that kind of gives you like the nostalgia, because how many people really actually write in cursive anymore? I don't even know if I know that.
Oh, they don't even teach it in school anymore.
Right. So that was a good choice for that part. Fortunately, I've learned how to write in that and can read it, so it made it easy. But I wonder about kids nowadays. Can they read that?
Can they read cursive? Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's true.
Yeah.
So if they can read cursive. But yeah, this is, like I said, this is a bit of a flashback and origin story to understand why Chip feels the way he is. And like I said, it's in issue 3. Give a little backstory on the whole story. Is you have a Chip who's a vampire who lives in middle America. Literally, this seems like it's one of these tiny towns, man, that everybody goes to the truck stop diner for.
Yeah. Is it
to get a slushy and buy booze? I'm not even sure if it's a diner, is it? It's just might be
I think it's it might be like a truck stop place like you find up here, up in the Midwest. Because I think isn't he from didn't they say he's from Wisconsin, or is that just Tim Seeley's from Wisconsin?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a small town.
Right.
Somewhere small. I think it's in the Dakotas now that I think about it. I don't know why that's coming to me, but I think this is somewhere in the Dakotas, either South or North Dakota.
Okay.
I may be wrong, and I'll look that up, but for some reason that's coming to mind. So it's small town, and there's some political themes in this. Not as much this issue, but in the past about middle America, what the flyover states are going through. The lack of jobs, who they're blaming, blah, 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 blah. And then our antagonists are Nazi vampires. Think about that. Modern day alt-right Nazi vampires. So this is kind of a really scary concept. And that's why this last issue was about learning why he hates Nazis.
Yeah.
Because he was a soldier in World War II. And he hates Nazis going all the way back to that. Because the Nazis captured the woman that turned him into a vampire, his vampire mentor in essence. So his hatred is pretty deep.
Yes, and you kind of get a story with her, like where she teaches him how to feed, and there's like Corin Howell's artwork in this. Let's just say it's pretty violent.
Yeah.
There's some things that I haven't seen like heads like this since Clan Killers. But yeah, it's a good. I enjoy the book, and I like how it kind of flashes back to the, current time, and those we meet. In the beginning of this book, you're introduced to like 2 hillbillies or rednecks, whichever you may call them. That catch to see what Chip does to Victor in here, and it's kind of a feel good moment because they kind of hound and go after Chip in the first 2 issues. Was it just the first issue or the second issue?
No, it's the first 2.
Yeah, and they get to see it, and there's a part where at the end when Chip kind of takes him out, he's like, "I hate Nazi fucks."
Yeah.
And
yeah, this isn't a PG book.
No, not at all. And that's why, my son's not part of this part of the podcast.
Yeah, readers of Hack and Slash will recognize Tim Seeley's work. It has that same type of humor. It has that same type of gore. Like, heads getting chopped off and, things getting ripped to shreds by vampires and that that kind of stuff happens in that book as well. And he has that certain dark humor in the midst of all this gore and horror, that there's so much great dialogue and one-liners, and and quips and puns and everything that's in there that he does. So if you are a reader of hack and slash, I think you will enjoy this very much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even the demographic or like the person that you would go for to try to sell me on this books, but I mean, these are two books that deal with like vampires, and I'm not into that stuff, but because of the two writers, it's the only reason why I read these books. Because I'm a fan of both their styles, especially like Tim Seeley. Like, I liked his Nightwing. I was a fan of his Nightwing and stuff, and I just like his humor from that book, and it kind of translates to this. He has a little more leeway, because he doesn't have like the editors of DC breathing down his neck. He can have that creator freedom. But yeah, this is definitely a book that you should be checking out. This issue, maybe not so much to jump on with because it's kind of a slower issue, but I definitely get the first two and then get to this one. Don't start with this issue because
this is not a starter. No. Without a doubt. You'll be confused. You won't understand what's going on with this one. This is definitely an issue that requires a little bit of knowledge from the first two.
Right.
At least the second one. But yeah, I would say look for the whole thing or trade weight it. But yeah, then this is what we talk about, how creative freedom. Like Tim Seeley's done so much of DC. Besides Nightwing, he also wrote with he did Grayson. I think he worked with Tom King, or did he follow Tom King? I'm not quite sure on Grayson. But he's done multiple things at DC. And he's starting, I think he's the editor-in-chief or creative director for the Heavy Metal magazine now. So he's pretty diverse. He's done a lot of things. And then we just talked about Brian Edward Hill, another creator that when he's given creative license, look at what you get. You get some really interesting things. So
yeah.
Would you say jump on this one? I mean,
on to Tim Seeley's Dark Red. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would that on this podcast we're not gonna like glorify a book that we do not like. We're only gonna do the books that we like. We're not gonna fake sell you. These are actually books that we pay for. We get it through DCBS or our local comic book store, and we're not. If I wouldn't pay for it, I wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, there's no point in reading a book that's not hitting for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And if you don't like it, let us know.
Yeah, there's no wrong answers. That's the other thing. We're not telling you what is great. We're telling you what we like. We think a lot of people might have some similar tastes. They also like indie books.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably not telling anybody anything they don't know with these three books. I think they all got a lot of buzz this week. But, if you didn't hear about it, maybe we turned you on to something new.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And then, maybe even let us know if you do listen to us and you want us to spoil more. Let us know that, too, because we're kind of keeping things hidden. Like, we don't want to tell the whole story. Because we can let more cats out of the bag if you want.
Yeah, that's true. We're trying to be conscientious of people that maybe don't get to the book in time. And then if we give out the whole story, then, like I said earlier on, what's the point of you reading the story if I tell you everything? Right. Then it becomes a recap instead of an opinion. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we have our third member of our broadcast team has joined us. I'm going to allow Fred to introduce us to this new member. Go ahead, Fred.
I have Joey Bag of Donuts here.
Welcome to the team, Joey. We're excited to have you. We can't wait to hear your opinions on wrestling. So, what's your favorite federation?
Are we talking about nowadays or all
nowadays?
Time? All right, nowadays. I don't think we're going to go over this, but I like AAA the most.
That's okay. We don't have to go over it. Yeah, go for it. Tell us something about AAA. Tell people who AAA is.
AAA is like this big-time Mexican, like made in Mexico wrestling company where like the matches I like to see on there are like the Phantasma matches with like where they'll throw in a little hardcore in there, and then they'll also throw in the Lucha Libre with like Aerostar and Bandito sometimes.
For some people that maybe not know, that's where Lucha Bros come from.
Yes.
There's who else? Who else is in AAA right now that would be
Psycho
in some of
Clown
the
and
other-
stuff.
John Morrison.
Yeah.
John Morrison? Okay.
Johnny Impact.
Is La Parca, or are they in
I-
AAA anymore,
I think,
or no?
I think La Parca or LA Park. I think he does the
Oh, yeah.
commentary still, but
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know about wrestling. I think he does more of the wrestling in MLW now.
Yeah. That's my favorite right now. I really like MLW. I think it has all the things I liked growing up. I like the factions. The name says it all, fusion. I get a little bit of everything. I'm not big on the hardcore. Sometimes, some of that gets old. I'm not into the staple guns to the head and
Yeah.
those weird things, and slapping each other with spit and things. But I like the mix. I get, like I said, I get a little bit of brawling. I get a bit some technical stuff. I love the factions. I like the Heart Foundation. I like the Contra. I like what is it? Dynasty? Is that what MJF's
Yes.
crew's called? And I like all that, and it's fun to see that again, because you don't see factions as much as you used to anymore.
Right. I mean, you can see factions if you go to New Japan because everybody's in a faction there.
Yeah. I bought it. Okay, $9.99 paid this month.
I talked him into it.
I'm going to be on that pay-per-view this weekend. Yes.
It's going to be good too.
Now I'll throw the same question to you, Fred. If you were going to pick a Fed that was your favorite, what would it be?
I love New Japan Wrestling because it's more technical. Well, not necessarily technical. It's just like it's complete storytelling. Like they could have matches from 30 to 60 minutes long, and I just get lost in it. Especially because the athletes, the athleticism. Like if you give me a match with like, say, Will Ospreay versus Bandito, or Will Ospreay versus Okada, or something like that, then I'm gonna eat it up. Because unlike WWE, these guys are allowed to create and get themselves over as much as they need to be to, get the pops and things like that. They can promote themselves, not being restricted, held back, I guess I should say. No Vince McMahon breathing down their neck.
So with that all we talked about, I guess we can kind of focus on the two major events that have happened in the last, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, would be
Right.
Double or Nothing and Takeover. And I know we're going to get flack. Well, Takeover is WWE. It's not really indie, but I feel like NXT is run more like an indie promotion. And it has indie stars. Like, they're not changing them too much. They're still kind of like who they were when they were on the indies.
Yeah, that's the way that I would I would state it too, is that it's ran like an indie show because it's more wrestling. It's not entertainment. Everything's like in the ring, in ring ability. Wrestlers are able to showcase their moves, I think it's better than, some people, if you only just watch like Raw or SmackDown and you see these guys get called up like No Way Jose or Aleister Black, if you want to see them actually wrestle good, you watch them on the indie scene, or you can watch them on NXT, because they're able to showcase their talents there instead of having like the 3-minute squash match that you get on Raw. I would definitely say it's that, because I still think some of these guys can still work other shows too, like Evolve, companies like that, because they have like a little ties with WWE, but
They're definitely not as free as the other guys are, but they do have a little bit.
So you want to talk about, say, AEW first? Like, what was your favorite part of that? Double or Nothing? Did you have a favorite match?
Oh man, I would have to say the Rhodes match. I mean, there was just so much in that match. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rhodes match, and the Omega Jericho is a close second. I think if that didn't have to follow two amazing matches, it would have blown everyone away. But I think, man, the crowd was already, and myself, you're already like, oh my gosh, you know, it was such a good day. But yeah, probably the Rhodes match, best storytelling of all.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Especially like for Dustin be split open like he was, like just, and for it to continue to go. I mean, it just showed how much passion and love for the sport that they have, or for this company, to like just keep going, keep pushing. And the ending of that match where they, you know, he's like, you know, I need my brother there for the upcoming pay-per-view for it to be his tag team partner. I think it's not the pay-per-view this month, but the following month. They're teaming together against the Young Bucks. That was great, especially like the beginning of the match where Cody just takes the sledgehammer to the throne. That was just for pops. But yeah.
Yeah, and it had everything. Brandy got involved, and it's well known that Brandy and Dustin don't necessarily get along, and
even like the part where Brandy speared Dustin Rhodes, like that was huge, because that was, you know, that's her brother-in-law, and she just spears him. I mean, that's something I didn't see coming, and that was a good spear. That's better than Goldberg's. That was a great spear. I mean, I saw a little bit of Goldberg today before we're taping, after, you know, the thing that happened in Saudi Arabia. But
the thing. Yeah.
Hers was much better.
And Joey, what'd you think? What was your double or nothing match?
I want to say the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks, but I can't really remember what happened. So, I mean, I might have to agree with you guys on the Cody Rhodes versus Dustin.
The Lucha Bros and Young Bucks was so much. It's almost like one you have to watch again. It was amazing. But I don't think, you know, people have said it wasn't just spots for spot's sake. They didn't just do a whole bunch of spot fest. I think they told a good story, and they had a good fight, and it went back and forth. And they showed why they're two of the best tag teams in the business.
Mean, I would have said that match because of how it's like that the Young Bucks went into their home of AAA and pretty much stole their titles in their hometown, and then they came back for those titles.
I thought Lucha Bros were going to win that one. I really did. I thought they were going to get the titles back.
Yeah, see that match. I was a little disappointed because how did the Young Bucks kind of out Lucha the Lucha Bros, and I felt like that was the you know, the Young Bucks are kind of like gymnasts in a way, and I don't know. I guess they just had to have them put them over this time, but I hope that it doesn't continue, because
I wonder if it has to do with because they're trying to establish the brand.
It may be, because otherwise Ray Phoenix is way better than both those guys put together, in my opinion.
Yeah. But Ray's a pro. Going back to MLW, I just saw recently an episode where he put over what's the young guy's name? Mysterio's cousin,
Airwolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put over Airwolf, and come on, man, Phoenix could whoop Airwolf. Yeah. But he did it. You know, he's leaving that Fed probably. More than likely, he won't be doing MLW anymore once television starts for AEW, and that's what he does. He's a pro. So
yeah.
When we were watching it together, he had said that the only people that were winning were pretty much just AEW guys, and the other guys were just there to like start the stories to get it going.
Yeah, it felt like it. It felt like it. Even down to Britt Baker. She's like kind of the one they've been highlighting and taking on all their promo tours. Yeah. So it did feel like they all won. And even though Kenny lost, he lost because they're setting him up for Mox. Yep. So, Oh, here's a tough question. Who's going to win that fight between Moxley and Kenny? Can you have Kenny lose 2 matches in a row? And can you have Moxley lose his debut match?
They're wrestling each other?
They're eventually going to wrestle. Yeah, that's what my understanding is. It makes it sound like they'll probably be opponents at All Out. Is kind of what I've kind of heard. So who do you pick on that?
I mean, you kind of have to go after the hot hand, John Moxley, because
that's 2 losses for Omega.
but he can handle it. I mean, he's a vice president of the company.
But supposedly wins and losses are going to mean something in this federation.
Well,
That makes him 0-2.
my thing is like John Moxley actually looks like, or Dean Ambrose, whichever you prefer, actually looks like he can fight. And Kenny Omega is just like, he does stuff for flips, but Moxley does stuff with his fist. I mean, they're totally different. Like, if they were to actually fight, I would say John Moxley all the way.
Yeah. I want to say something, but
Go for it.
what do you guys think about what Hangman Page is doing for the company right now?
I think he's the future. I really do. I think he'll be a perfect champion once they need to use these big names, the Jerichos and the Omegas and Moxley, to get people to watch. But I think you build that federation around Page. That's me personally.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like the country version of Brian Pillman Sr. Like he can do those moves, but he also has a little Barry Windham in him.
Yeah. I mean, I think he could be a really popular guy in that Fed. And he's young. He's right at that age. WWE would have loved to have had him. There's no doubt about it.
That's it.
Yeah, I like
that's a good guy to put the belt on.
Yeah.
Because like you kind of said, the other guys don't really need the belt as much.
People are always going to buy their T-shirts no matter what because they're the Bullet Club, the Elite, which, those are always going to sell because, they have those fans that just love them. They're like the Grateful Dead of wrestling.
And the tag team division, that's how you do tag team. Because that other tag team match was pretty darn incredible itself. Also, the I can't remember. The Best Friends and
Helico. Jack Evans.
Those are some AAA guys too.
There you go. Both teams or which one?
Angelico and Jack Evans. The Best Friends I think they're just from Ring of Honor, right?
Okay, and so let's transition over to the NXT TakeOver. What did you guys think of this last TakeOver?
I thought they were going to bring it more. One thing I'm not necessarily disappointed with, but how is Shayna Baszler ever going to lose? Who do you have to put against her to let her lose? The only way you could have her lose is to have her in a fatal 4-way where she doesn't get pinned, because the only person that was strong enough to maybe win is Bianca Belair, physically strong. But I am excited for, say, the Adam Cole winning the title. That's pretty huge. I kind of wish Tyler Breeze won the title, kind of put him over after everything he's been through on the main shows. He deserves something. But you got to give Adam Cole the belt. Speaking of Britt Baker, that's his boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
Here, I was a little not really disappointed, but like a little confused on why the what are they called? Oh, what is Adam Cole's faction called?
Undisputed.
Oh yeah, I'm confused on why they didn't win the tag titles, but I think it was because the Street Profits are gonna be like another fan. They're liked by the fans,
I think it was the Street Profits' time. That's all. I think they figured now's their time, now's their shot. Let's do them. That whole thing was a mess, and that's why I'm kind of giving NXT a little bit of a pass, because the main roster screwed NXT up.
Yeah.
I don't think they had a storyline in place for losing the War Raiders, which is what I'm going to call them. That messed them up, and they had to scramble and come up with something to figure out for this tag teams. I don't think that was the story. I also don't think they were ready for Ricochet and all them to go up the way they did, and Aleister Black, and then Gargano going up and then coming back down, and just they did all kinds of silly things, and it took, because you could see it. I watch NXT every week, and you could see it took them a while to kind of figure out what the story was, and it was all rushed. Kari Sane went up. That threw them off, so they had to break up. Then all of a sudden, Io's alone. So let's put Io with Shayna Baszler, and just a lot of rushed.
Yeah.
I blame it on upstairs.
Yeah, their roster's depleted, and yet some of the guys that they used to lean on all the time, they just put them up on the main shows, and they either sit there or they get like little bit of time, and they had no one ready to move up. Like they haven't been able to promote like Keith Lee to more time, or Donovan Dijak, or
well, they got injured, so that's also that you have to throw that out. Both Dijak and Keith Lee went through an injury, so that slowed that feud down a little bit.
And then you have like guys like you haven't even seen on TV, like Punishment Martinez or ACH, or there's a few other guys that are big name guys from like indies that aren't even getting time because they don't think they're ready, but these guys were starring in other organizations.
Just like Leo Rush, when they just pushed him up, and that he didn't have enough time to grow, and they just put him as a manager because they had nothing else to do.
You're right. I mean, what's up with Buddy Murphy? He hasn't even been on TV. Right. Why did they bring him up? I mean, what was the point? Yeah, that's my complaint. Is I think the one complaint I would have with NXT is they try too hard to get rid of sometimes some guys like Punishment Martinez instead of he's already a star. Just let him be a star. Why do you have to remake him? You didn't have to remake AJ Styles. AJ Styles was a star. He went to the WWE. He's still a star. I wish there'd be more of that, I think, is trusting the guys to be who they are.
Yeah, they should take the approach that they had with like a Finn Balor or Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, whichever you want to call him, but
Sami Zayn.
Like just those type of wrestlers, and just let them be themselves, and just let them get their character over, not just I mean, that's how it used to be.
Yeah, I do worry. I read a theory that part of what Triple H is doing is what Vince McMahon did. When Vince bought all the territories, he went around and he took all the talent from all the territories. That Hunter's trying to buy up all the indies. So whether he's using them or not, he's taking them off the board. So that the indies don't have enough talent to rise. Luckily, so far, they replenished. But think about how much talent NXT has taken from the indies in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
They've taken a lot of good guys.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite thing about AEW right now is I watch AEW. I saw guys I'd never seen or guys I'd seen once or twice, and now I'm looking for them everywhere. I can say, okay, I can find some Lucha Bros over here. I can find some Lucha Bros on this one. I can find Lucha Bros over here on this one. Oh, that leads me to finding this other guy and this other guy. Oh, I saw them over here. Britt Baker, Kylie, I can see them on Rise or Shimmer or something like that. So it's pretty cool. I think it's really opened the indies up.
So on our show, we're going to cover like Ring of Honor, MLW, some New Japan. One way that you can stay current with us on the show is like if you download the Fight TV app, they have free content on there, especially from MLW and from Ring of Honor. So we're going to go over some things that we may have liked on, what was it, MLW episode 59. We're going to talk about some stuff there. And I know this is like my huge thing with them is they put their talent over. Especially, I mean, I'm a throwback when it comes to wrestling. So if I hear Jim Cornette talking and he has a tennis racket in the hand, I'm already sold. You got my money. This episode, wouldn't you say that it was all Contra? It reminded me of like the Outsiders in WCW, I would say like they remind me of the Outsiders. Like they just came in, you just won a match, or you didn't even finish a match, and they were taking you out and just beating you down. The whole card was like that.
Yes, they beat up everybody. They beat up everybody of consequence this week.
Just like when the NWO used to spray paint on their backs, I saw that they were pulling out the flags and laying them on top of them when they took them out with when they weren't noticing it or with a foreign object, which that happened in the first match actually.
And then the fire backstage. Yeah, it was really well done. It made the show unpredictable. So every match was a must-watch match because you didn't know if they were going to come out or not. Like I told you guys up front, I really think MLW is doing it right. I think they're creating new talent, and they've lost a little talent, and they've refreshed it. They've restocked. I really like them.
Yeah, I like. There's a lot of guys to like in there, like MJF or Jacob Fatu, Simon Gotch. You may have remembered him from NXT and WWE.
Yeah.
Who else? Oh, there was
the Hart Foundation, the new. Hart Foundation.
The Hart Dynasty, like those guys. Teddy Hart, Brian Pillman Jr., the Cats.
Those cats are great.
Davey Boy Smith Jr., like those three. I liked like this episode. They kind of featured like a package to kind of pump you up on the Von Erichs. That's another name that I grew up on, was huge in Texas. I remember my father always talking about like watching the Von Erichs or Wahoo McDaniel wrestle when he was a kid. So those were things. And I did see like one of them. I can't remember which one it is that's currently wrestling, but he kind of uses like the what is that called? The claw. He kind of clawed him, and he had his head on the mat. And I was like, oh, they're bringing back the claw, huh?
Classic move.
Wasn't it Kerry Von Erich made that move big? I don't remember the first names of any of them.
See, Kerry and Kevin.
Kerry is
one of them.
Kerry is the Texas Tornado, right?
Yeah, that's the one with the claw.
Yep, Kerry's the one that was in WWE.
Yeah.
And what about Ring of Honor this week? Did you guys get a chance to watch that?
Yeah, I watched it. I liked. I kind of like the tag team match, but then there's this younger fella, Josh Woods, that I've been digging because he had a pay-per-view match. What was it, Sunday? The past Sunday against Jay Briscoe, and he kind of looks like Jay Briscoe, not as dirty, and he has a little more teeth, but he's got the moves and stuff, and he's a young fella that I think they said he just got out of college and stuff. He's pretty impressive already. Like, he's one to watch. Yeah. I mean, Ring of Honor kind of brings back some old TNA gimmicks that I didn't necessarily like, but it's still decent wrestling, especially if you get Flip Gordon versus a decently matched wrestler. That's good times.
I like Lifeblood. Lifeblood does a good job of bringing a good match. If there's someone from Lifeblood matched up with one of their bigger wrestlers, like maybe matched up with someone from the Kingdom or the Villains or something like that, you tend to get a good match. Lifeblood tends to bring out a match out of somebody.
Yeah, they're good wrestlers. I do like the Kingdom. And who else? Oh, yeah, and Villain Enterprise, of course. Especially, I'm a big PCO fan. I mean,
and Roosh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Roosh.
Skrull fan.
I'm a big fan of Roosh.
Yeah, Roosh is pretty good too. Dalton Castle, I kind of laugh at times, but
he's such a clown. But he's good at being a clown.
He's good. I could do it with a little less. Excuse me, Kenny King, or Lethal. I'm gonna get some heat for Jay Lethal, but I'm not a fan. It's kind of old. It's time to pump some new blood in there, and I'm tired of seeing like Bully Ray.
Yeah, they've been hanging on Jay Lethal and those guys since like AJ Styles left and Kevin Owens, but I kind of want to. That's the match I haven't seen. Was the one you were talking about was your favorite, which is the John Woods match, but I saw my favorite match was probably the Evil and Sonata match, which
yeah, that was a good match. Yeah, whenever those guys are around, they put on a show. Yeah, those are two of my favorite for sure. They're just not there enough. Yeah. I guess that'd be my complaint about Ring of Honor is you don't know what you're going to get from week to week.
Mm-hmm.
You might get some really good guys there, and then they might be like the cupboard is bare. Did everybody get the day off today? You're like, whoa.
Yeah, you're gonna get a heavy dose of them in like New Japan. But not so much like Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is kind of borrowing talent for most of their matches.
What about the Allure? What they're doing with the women's roster?
I kind of talked to your dad about that. That would be my biggest knock on Ring of Honor. I think they have the weakest women's division. I'm not a big fan of the Allure.
I wrote on my notes. I wrote Allure promo snooze fest. It says it right there.
They're a step backwards. That is like old school bra and panty divas WWE.
Yeah.
Their style. I'm not seeing any wrestling. I'm seeing a lot of hair pulling and talking smack back and forth and jumping on each other and punching. That's about it. We're not seeing any wrestling, and we've gone past that.
Yeah, there were.
I'm not interested in that.
Well, like on the pay-per-view on like the that Sunday when the pay-per-view hit, there was a women's match, but I can't remember the two that were in there. I want to say like one's name was like Mercedes or something,
and she's brand new.
And they looked pretty decent, like because they gave them time and things like that. You know, it wasn't just a.
But those two girls aren't getting the
No.
focus. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I saw that too. She's new. I thought, oh, this is the new Sasha Banks. Because what is Sasha's name? Her indie name, isn't it a car also?
Her, I think her real name is Mercedes.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think it is, isn't it?
I have no idea.
So I was like, oh, this is like a Sasha Banks kind of thing.
What about what they're doing with the lipstick? Drawing their symbol on their heads and stuff.
You like that, like NWO style?
I mean that's probably like the most exciting thing they're doing. But like,
Yeah, well, you may be right. I mean, they're good at being bullies.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, she is one of the
Mean
girls
Girls.
is Bully Ray's wife. So, and they are borrowed talent
And these
from
women-
TNA.
And these women do have titles. I'm not just. It's just the style that they're bringing. Just, I don't know. We're past that. When you go to WWE, even as messy as WWE is, they have the best women's roster. Most likely, they definitely have the deepest. And they're actually wrestling. And then you go to Impact, which I think has one of the best in the business. And Impact, they're really wrestling. And now AEW, they're really wrestling. So I don't know. I just not for me.
Yeah, same here.
So did you guys see last week's Impact? Because there's an Impact going on right now, so we obviously are not watching it. But last week's Impact,
It wasn't. I mean, there was like a ECW reunion that I wasn't all about, and then I saw a match that a tag team kind of a little bit impressed me. That I called them like the Duck Dynasty, but I think Joe said because they're like some guys wearing camouflage and had beards that were really long. What were they called?
The Deaners.
The Deaners. They were okay. I think the biggest moment for me like last week was Tessa Blanchard. She kind of squashed Disco Inferno Gabe. What's his name? Glenn Galverdi or
yeah.
That was okay, but I mean I feel like you give the talent like ECW because you're in Philly. That match, the opening match, and then you get like Gilberti versus Tessa. So who are you getting over? I mean, if your company's kind of a little bit struggling at times, wouldn't you want to showcase like the younger people?
Right.
That's what I would do. You have LAX.
Yes.
LAX should be the horse you're
Right.
riding. That's
Like tonight.
that and Tessa should be the horse you're riding in that.
Yeah, tonight. What is it? LAX versus the. Who are those kids? The.
Oh, the
Yes,
Rascals.
that's gonna happen in like 30 minutes.
That could be a decent
Yeah, I
match.
think it would be
So.
because the Rascals are very athletic, agile, and LAX they're pretty agile too. But there's something about those guys. Maybe it was like during WrestleMania week. I bought the package where I could watch like every pay-per-view, and I think they wrestled like 8 pay-per-views in 5 nights or something, and I'm like, holy crap, these dudes are just doing it. And that made me more impressive. And that's what I like about indie wrestling is that they're going town for town, but they're doing it to try to make a bigger name for themselves, to get over in those areas. And Unlike the WWE where they're going town to town and they might cancel SmackDown because they have the wild card rule and these people can't go to the show anymore, so let's just cancel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was impressive was that they were throwing in LAX was at 3 shows in one night with like an hour or 30 minutes in between the shows.
Yeah.
I
remember.
Yeah, what you guys were saying about the Impact show, they were throwing a lot of ECW in there. Like Sandman came in for the Eddie Edwards Killer Cross match, and then, but like, what was like the most impressive match for you guys?
Wow, I don't know if I had one. That's the problem. I guess Tessa, I got to say, too, because I think she's a star. So, yeah, probably Tessa, even though I'd like to see Tessa fighting some other ladies. You know?
Yeah, but the Galverdi spot, like, every week is just tiring. That's like a Vince McMahon gimmick to me, I think. It's, let her wrestle somebody. I mean...
And they have the talent. Now, it'll be interested if they lose, I cannot remember her name right now, but Killer Cross's wife or girlfriend. She's asked for her release. And she fought Disco a few weeks before and beat him. What's her name?
Does she have blonde hair?
Yeah, she has blonde hair.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of her name either.
But they may be losing her. So, that's the other thing. But, yeah, I think Impact has a chance to be the place for a really good women's division if they do it right. Because Tessa's locked up for 2 years. And so is Jordan Grace. Mm-hmm. And both those two are stars.
Yeah.
Wasn't Jordan Grace in like the same amount of shows as LAX on WrestleMania week?
Yeah. She was everywhere. She's really good. I've seen her in Beyond Wrestling.
What was that one that was in the bar? What was that one called?
That's Beyond Wrestling.
Oh.
I've seen her on stuff for Rise. I've seen her with stuff for Shimmer.
She's good. She's powerful. She's really talented. I've seen her like a lot of matches where she wrestles like bigger dudes and like picks them up and does moves on them. I'm like, oh wow.
So let's say Impact. Who's the wrestler you think it's the best wrestler Impact has? Who they should be building around?
Rich Swann.
You were gonna book Impact.
Rich Swann or Eddie Edwards.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No? That's a no? Okay.
No, I would.
Yeah, you can have your opinion.
I would probably build it with the tag team division, maybe LAX, give them more time, or I don't know how long Pentagon is there for, but like someone like him.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because most of their talent is like from other organizations that I don't know if they just have how long they're there for.
But like
I would probably definitely, you know what, Tessa Blanchard because she's the best female wrestler in wrestling, hands down. I'll build the whole thing around her.
Probably right. You're probably right. She's definitely worth it. What about Ring of Honor? Who's your major attraction?
Marty Scurll.
He's leaving.
Ooh, good pick. But do they keep Scurll? I have a feeling he's an AEW guy, just waiting to happen.
I don't think they can keep him. If he's gone, then I would say Flip Gordon.
Yeah.
Because he's got all the moves. He's added a lot of muscle. I would say him if it's not Marty Scurll.
What about the big guy? I can't remember his name right now. The guy that was in, you told me he was in Lucha Underground. The big Samoan guy.
Oh, Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cobb.
Yeah, he's a good one to build around, but I don't know how long he's there either. That's the thing. Like Ring of Honor's always been like they bring up like the Bryan Danielsons, the Tyler Blacks, you know, or Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, guys, Cesaro. All these guys make a name there, CM Punk, and then somebody like WWE comes in, scoops them up, and just takes them.
Yeah.
They've always been a feeding. That's where guys hit it big, and then finally WWE takes notice, and then they're like, oh, we need to get them off TV so they can either sit our bench or, you know.
Yeah, just like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. But
Yeah, he's a lot like Samoa Joe. I think they're the similar. You know, AEW doesn't have a guy like that right now. I was thinking about that. They don't have a Jeff Cobb, a Samoa Joe, a what's the guy in NXT? A Keith Lee. If you look at their roster, they don't have that big guy. The big powerful
They don't got the Braun
guy.
Strowman.
No. Well, I don't know what I said about Braun, but you know what I mean? They're the big
Yeah.
husky guys that are also fast and athletic. I don't think they have that guy right now. And I think that's something that they probably need to avoid. They need to feel. They need one of those guys. That's what I think. I like those kind of guys. I mean, it might end up being Rhino. I heard Rhino's available. That's a very short term. I know.
He'll be on. He can go to Impact.
Yeah.
I would.
But he's a good coach. They might hire him.
You know, if I was them, I would. If I was looking for somebody bigger or something that could move like that, I would probably go try to steal Jacob Fatu from MLW because he can move. Yeah. He does like the backflips, things like that for a big fella.
Yeah, who would you build MLW around? I mean, obviously you have MJF, but he's probably gone. So his partner maybe in Dynasty. What's the guy's name? The guy that wears the red jacket. It's a little bit like a Jericho guy.
Alexander Hammerstein. Is it Hammerstone?
I think it's Stone. Yeah. But I may be wrong.
I think that they should build it around. Are they already building it up on the what is it? The Dynasty? I think they should.
Pillman.
Yeah, mostly Pillman. Or if they need to, mostly Contra is going to probably be the biggest right now.
True.
Because they started that this week.
I would build it around Selena De La Renta.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, because she's got all the talent. Low key. Ricky Martinez.
La Parca's son, Elijo.
He has all. You know what's amazing? That Fed doesn't have a women's division, yet they have a female that's probably as popular as some of the top women in Feds that have a women's division. You know,
she's a heel.
Yeah, and she does it well. And she does it very well. Okay, you guys tell me some more about this New Japan pay-per-view coming up in New Japan, because this is where I'm a little ignorant. So you guys have to educate me.
It's on Sunday. Not sure what time it starts right offhand because they're like a day ahead of us. But I do have the card if you want to go over it. Want to make some predictions?
Okay. I'll be totally.
Let's just do the big matches, like the top 4 matches, like the tag team. Okay. So for the tag team belts, the IWGP tag team belts, you have the Guerrillas of Destiny, Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga versus Sonata and Evil for the belts. You want to make a prediction?
Let him go.
I'm gonna go with the Guerrillas of Destiny. They're my favorite.
Yeah, I think so because
Japan
they got to kind of keep the rivalry between them and the Briscoes when they did the crossover shows.
Tama Tonga and Tangaloa though, yeah, because they do need to keep the because when the Elite left New Japan, Bullet Club kind of fell, so that they do need to keep those guys a little stronger in that company.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then the next match we would say is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship is Dragon Lee versus Will Ospreay. Dragon Lee's from AAA.
Ospreay's a New Japan guy.
Yeah, he's totally just New Japan now.
That sounds like the kind of match you don't want to pick because they're both probably really good.
Dragon Lee's super good. But I think they need to put a belt on Ospreay and make him the new Kenny Omega because he just beat the dude at the last Young Lions tournament. They were both undefeated, and he beat him. So he's like the new Omega. So he's going to get all the heat because he's the non-Japanese wrestler.
Is Dragon Lee the champ right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dragon Lee's the champ. I'm going to go with the Ospreay. I'm a huge Ospreay fan. I think he's amazing.
Is he in Bullet
Club?
No,
he's in Chaos.
Chaos with Okada. And
it's like the Japanese Bullet Club.
And then the next match would be the IWGP Intercontinental match is Kota Ibushi versus Naito. And I believe they fought each other at
How did you say his name?
Is it Naito?
Yeah, it's Naito.
Naito.
Tetsuya Naito. Yeah.
They fought each other at G1, I believe. Isn't that who Ibushi won the belt from?
Actually, and they actually did have the rivalry match this week. If you guys watched that, it was the tag team match, but they did have that weird look at each other.
Yeah. I like Ibushi. He was in the 205 Live tournament when they had that. He's one of the guys that decided not to sign with them.
I think that was like a promotion thing. He tried to promote himself so he could be a bigger name.
Mm-hmm. And then the main event is the IWGP Heavyweight Championship is Okada versus Jericho. Yeah, Okada. Definitely, because I don't think there's no way he's gonna drop it after he just won it against who did he beat? Sling Blade.
Okada just beat Jay White.
Yeah.
Jay White, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, the guy, the owner of, or whoever's in charge of New Japan keeps saying they do not have a deal with AEW. Absolutely. So I don't see them wanting to lose to another federation that they really don't have a deal with. Like, they may have a deal with Jericho.
Yeah.
But they don't have a deal with AEW. So I don't think they want to put their belt on somebody who could possibly be the AEW champion.
I think think this match is to put Okada over more because Jericho beat him the first time. Mm-hmm. And then this time then he can just destroy him because Jericho's a little out of shape, I would say.
Yeah.
Actually, Moxley has a match too.
I was gonna say, you didn't mention Mox. What's he doing?
He's got it's a non-title match, but he's got against Shora Umino. I don't know. I've never heard of that guy, but if I probably saw him,
Mox is probably gonna squash him.
If I saw him, I might know who he is, but
yeah, it's not for Moxley's belt.
I don't think it is for a belt.
And then there's a lot of other good matches. Like you have
What about, you didn't mention Switchblade?
Yeah, he's in a match with Taguchi, Juice Robinson, and Tanahashi is facing Tajiri Ishimura, Chase Owens, and Jay White. So it's the Bullet Club versus the other three guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
and then you get a chance to see Juice and Thunder Liger, and he's going to be in a tag team. I forgot who he's with. Yoshihashi.
Yeah.
And they're going to face Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki is in a match. So that's going to be good. Zack Sabre Jr. is very technical. Like, he will stretch you out all types of ways and some moves that back. Everything he does looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Pete Dunne for someone who doesn't know his mind.
But even more.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he was in the 205 Live that tournament too. He didn't sign there.
But I'm pretty sure you know who Liger is because he's pretty big named. But Minoru Suzuki is, I think he's like more of he's also like a technical wrestler for that for New Japan.
Cool. All right, that's something to look forward to.
I think we should definitely cover this on the next episode.
They're also...
Oh, for sure. So is there any... I mean, you mentioned AAA. Are there any other feds that you guys watch? Like, I like to watch Rise and Shimmer sometimes. I'll watch their old matches on YouTube. Is there anything else you'd like to check out?
I like Beyond Wrestling or NWA. Defiant is good. That's over in England. That's pretty good. I like, is it DDT?
Yeah, that's Japanese women's wrestling.
No, it's not women's wrestling. It's all wrestling.
I thought it was just women.
Shinsuke was in that.
Oh.
Yeah, I like those organizations. There's so much wrestling. You can see it. Like, if you get the Fight TV app, it's all on there. You can watch all the pay-per-views. I mean, it's going to cost you a lot of money, but you can do it.
But there's a lot of free, too. So if people are new to wrestling, coming to our show, they came to listen to comics, hung around for this wrestling part. There's a lot of stuff for free.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's also, like, you could go to YouTube and you can watch, like, AAA. They have it all on there.
They do theirs for free.
We forgot to mention Twitch. You can watch AAA.
Impact.
You can watch Impact on Twitch.
You can find like a lot of those shows on there. NWA's on there. I don't think it's full episodes, but AAA is the complete episode. And I mean, that stuff is, if you like Rey Mysterio stuff, like high flying stuff like Lucha Underground, that's the place to watch, because that's all you get the whole time. It's speed and agility and crazy flips. Like even the big fellas are doing moves.
And then CMLL is like another Mexican wrestling thing, and they also do all theirs on YouTube. That's where like Roosh and I'm pretty sure Dragon Lee wrestles there too.
Yeah, and that's where
Bandito.
Who is it? Roosh is no, Dragon Lee is Mystico's brother, the original Sin Cara. So they're, I mean, it's in their family. Like
he wrestles there too. Mystico wrestles there.
Yeah, he's got a different name though, I think. But yeah, I like it because I like the Psycho Clowns.
Yeah, and the Paganos.
Yeah.
There's one more thing that's heating up in New Japan. There was a Bullet Club rivalry this week, right? With the Australian dude, what's his name?
Oh, Robbie
Eagles, and the newest Bullet Club member, what's his El Phantasmo?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were starting to push each other around, so that might be something they're trying to make Bullet Club a bigger deal.
Okay.
They're like,
I heard the Robbie Eagles name because I was talking to your dad about it, because I saw that Ospreay had fought Eagles recently.
That's all high flying.
There was
stuff.
a lot of buzz about that one.
Yeah, those are two similar wrestlers, like a Pac or Ospreay. Ospreay's added a lot of muscle, so now he can become more physical. He used to be like just a high flyer. Now he's doing power moves.
Didn't they cancel Pac's and Hangman Page's match on AEW? Wasn't that supposed to be the main event?
Not the main event. Well, maybe it was the main event, but yeah, they did. Politics. But from the sound of it, they're going to do it again someday down the line. Pac is coming back.
Yeah, I thought that it was mentioned that it could be in a tag team match, the next match.
That makes sense. He just doesn't want to lose because he's on an undefeated streak. Pac doesn't want to lose. And AEW has a different idea for the storyline.
I wouldn't want to lose after I lost my belt to Enzo either.
Didn't me and you, we got recommended a match with Pac and Will Ospreay in England? Wasn't there a wrestling company where they did wrestle each other?
I don't remember. Probably Progress.
Yeah, it was like a smaller England company, but they did have a really good match because they're like similar styles.
It was probably like Progress or Defy, which are both like good. No, Defy's from like the New England area, not like that's the Boston area, I think.
Well, have you guys seen that the All Out, NXT UK, and a New Japan show will all be on the same day?
Guess which one I'll be watching.
New Japan?
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, the NXT UK is already going to be in my queue.
You can watch that whenever you want.
So I can check it out later. But yeah, I don't know. It's let's see who's fighting and All Out.
I'll probably watch.
What their plan is. What if CM Punk's showing up?
I'll probably watch. I'll probably watch New Japan first because it should end before All Out starts, wouldn't you think? Because it's like 6 hours ahead of time.
When is this?
The last day is it last day of August?
Oh,
I think so.
Time ago.
It'll be here before you know it.
A lot happens between now and then. Yeah.
When exactly are they going to start the AEW normal show?
Nobody is sure yet. Just sometime in the fall. Same thing with, we don't know the exact date of when WWE is moving to Fox. So that's going to be a big deal too. That's going to change a lot of things as well. So a lot of changes coming the way in wrestling. It's kind of exciting. I said, I wish WWE would get it together. There's a lot of wrestlers I like in WWE, but for right now, until they get it straight, I'm looking for my wrestling elsewhere. So, well, all right, guys. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about, or are we going to call it a night?
I think we should wrap it up. This is a pretty long one. That's could be a lot of editing.
We rambled a little bit. So, but it was our first time back. We're a little rusty. Well, I guess let's go ahead and say goodnight to everybody, and we'll catch you next week.
We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.